Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's good. Thank you, Namita. Got it. Right. So without further ado, let's start with our motivation and some quiet time to absorb the motivation and also, if necessary, watch the breath and so forth. And I think, I don't know how it is for people. We all have our personal agendas, our personal challenges in life, our worries, our fears, our expectations, all of that, regrets, jo bhi hai. Also, of course, our happinesses, there are some. But if we look at the larger picture, for example, this morning, I was looking, as I normally do, at the Guardian newspaper website on my smartphone. And really, there's a very difficult, dangerous situation in the world right now in terms of the conflict in Ukraine, in terms of economic situation, meaning the ramifications of that situation for poorer people. Nobody is suggesting that the rich 1% or whatever are going to suffer much. They're not. But a lot of middle class and poor people in so-called first world countries are also going to suffer a lot. Already millions of people are on the verge of starvation in the Horn of Africa. And we don't hear about this much, especially in the Indian newspapers. So that situation is ongoing. The war in Ukraine is kind of ongoing and it's dangerous because it could go nuclear due to the pressure on Russia, who are doing very badly in the war, it seems. So they may be tempted to use their tactical nuclear weapons, which would be a disaster because the West will respond in a particular way, which won't be so nice. So we have to pray for that also when we do our Tara prayers. We really have to pray for peace, for some sense to enter. Well, not sense so much as some compromising energy to enter into politicians' minds, And as far as the economics is concerned, it would be wonderful if people could show more intelligence in terms of how we are behaving towards each other, towards the environment, and so forth. So anyway, what my point is, when we motivate in this session, I think since this is Mahayana, supposed to be Mahayana practice, we have to open up our minds to all of what's happening on this planet. And of course, even beyond that, if we can, because Mahayana encompasses everything, all the 6 realms. According to our teachers, the suffering of the hungry ghosts and the hell beings, far greater than anything experienced on this planet, by human beings or animals. Amazing though that may sound, horrific though that may sound, Anyway, be it that way or not, there's a lot of suffering we cannot see. A lot of suffering happening in the oceans, which are becoming more and more acidified by the day, which is having lethal effect on many forms of life in the oceans. And I won't repeat ad nauseam what is happening with the environment, but if you're not aware of it, you should be. As we're all members of this planet, we should be aware of what's happening, even if it's not at our doorstep yet. It will be at our doorstep soon, all of the changes that are happening, one way or another. As we know, interdependence means that what's happening in the ocean, in the Pacific or the Indian Ocean, has an effect everywhere. We cannot limit it to
So BG, we can't hear you.
me कितनी देर से नहीं सुन रहे हैं? पहले से ही?
जब से सेशन शुरू हुआ है, हाँ जब से शुरू, नहीं नहीं अभी अभी थोड़ी देर पहले, 10 सेकंड.
Okay. 10 minutes? 2 minutes? Anyway, the point is to develop a big-hearted motivation. That's my point. So to go beyond one's own little world of suffering or expectation or whatever, and to embrace the colony, the city you live in, if you live in one, and then the world where people are suffering so much. The animals are suffering, the fish are suffering, the plankton, the fish at 20,000 feet down are suffering in the ocean. All these beings are suffering, and then all the beings we can't see. According to Lord Buddha, gods, demigods, hungry ghosts, and hell beings, they're all suffering. And they all want happiness, just like you and me. Isn't that amazing? However ugly or awful they look like, or and some of them, I'm sure, have very distressing features, these beings, but they all want to be happy. And some of them are in total sort of iron cage of misery, of distress, horrific distress. Those of you who have had, I don't know what you would call them, really, psychotic episodes or incredible depression or panic attacks, you know what it's like to sometimes feel totally, totally out of control of your mind, where your mind is totally giving you a kind of vision of just claustrophobia and pain of one kind or another, mental pain. And it's like being in a prison that one definitely cannot get out of, even if it's just for a few seconds or minutes. But imagine that extended for an inconceivable amount of time. That is what some beings are going through. Many beings are going through, many beings, most beings, according to the teachings. Due to negative karma, most beings are experiencing hellish suffering. We humans, we're nothing. 8 billion, what is that? That's nothing in terms of numbers. So please generate a very big-hearted motivation, recognizing the extent of samsaric pain and suffering, and think how wonderful it would be if one could do something to help somebody, some being, and to attain even the state of a bodhisattva and a Buddha, at which point we will have many methods to help others, as well as tremendous confidence and love and compassion. Excuse me, and love and much wisdom to help others, which is really what we need so much. So please make a strong motivation. And then please be aware of the breath and make the mind a little bit calm, quiet, and flexible. So the body is still, mind relaxed, and very attentive. Okay. Thank you. Let's have some discussion, but let me just introduce it a little bit. But if you do have questions from before on the Shantideva, then now's your chance to ask them, or just you have something you want to comment on yourself. We were looking at chapter 5. Conscientiousness, right? Is that right? Excuse me, being slightly disorganized. Sorry, we were looking at guarding alertness, chapter 5. And that's from page 37 in the text that has been sent to you. So guarding alertness started with those very powerful verses where where Shantideva is likening our ordinary mind to bringing far more harm than a wild elephant. And he makes the assertion that everything, all the boundless miseries we experience comes from the mind. All of the projections of hell and so forth, since just like this human life is a projection of our mind, and so also the hell and other realms, that's also reflection, projection of mind. And there is nothing to fear other than my mind, he says in verse 8 of that chapter. That's a very powerful statement. There's nothing to fear other than my mind. I mean, we fear a lot of things. We fear people, situations, places. Met someone today who's petrified, terrified of cats. Can you imagine? Some people are scared to death of spiders. But Shantideva was saying, some people are afraid of, stocks and shares going down, losing their money. Some people get very scared about, traveling, not having everything totally under control before they leave. Many people like that. But there's nothing to fear other than my mind. Well, that has to be discussed, maybe. Then that wonderful verse where he says, where would I possibly find enough leather with which to cover the surface of the earth? Anyway, I'm talking too much. The ball is in your court, ladies and gentlemen. What would you like to discuss for a little while? We have to finish by 7:30. Well, the people on Zoom, I can carry on. Yeah, that's true. It's just the people at Tushita. We'll have to just, I'm afraid, if there are people there. How many people are at Tushita, Namitaji?
Just one. Apurva is here, Kabirji.
Okay, well, my apologies to Apurva. We'll probably go on till about 8. But at 7:30, you have to leave, right, with your laptop. So Apurvaji can...
At all. I have my phone. I can connect to you there as well.
Yes, of course. You can connect on, the technology. Yes, you can connect. So we'll all be together. Yeah, good. But we'll finish by 8. I have some things to do at 8. Okay, so what would you like to, what would people like to...
Kabirji,
Ji.
will it be wrong to say that except for our body and bodily functions, everything else is projection of the mind?
Hey, bodily functions are also a projection of the mind.
But they're real, or I mean, your body pains or aging or sickness.
That's an interesting question. Walls and houses and water and everything are a projection of our human mind. If they were not, then an ant or a ghost or a cat or a fish should also experience walls and water and everything else the same way that we do. But they don't, do they? If they all experience it the same way that we do, then we can say, oh yeah, it must be like that. But I doubt very much if a cat or a dog or an ant, a tiny bit of sugar that spills out of our spoon while we are trying to put it in our cup with our tea or whatever, for us it's a tiny bit of sugar has fallen off the spoon. But what is that for a cat, for a small ant, you know? What is it for an ant? What is it for a tiger, you know? Is it a little bit of sugar for a tiger, you know? My point is a very simple point I'm making. How we experience the world depends on our mind. Does it not? So therefore our body too. Spiders are attracted, it seems, to each other's bodies, you know. Matlab, spider is attracted to a spider body. I don't think we're attracted to spiders that way, you know. A spider is not that way attracted to our body. It sees our body differently. So everything is our projection. If we have tunnel vision or something wrong with us or something wrong with our mind, then we don't see the world the same way. It's kind of colored a different way. There's also the assertion, this I cannot say, of course, it's asserted, I believe it, but I haven't experienced it, of course, that a bodhisattva can have their body at a certain level, they can offer their body. Someone can chop off their hand or a finger or something, begin chopping them up piece by piece, but that bodhisattva will not feel pain and will not feel any anger towards the person engaging in that action. So what's that about? They also have a body, but they're obviously not experiencing it the same way you and I experience our bodies. It's obvious they're not. Some people are terrified by the sight of blood and make a hue and cry if they have a tiny cut on their body. And many of us can go through a lot of hardship, a lot of blood without, passing out or whatever. So what's that about? Same thing, same kind of experience in the body, but experience same action or same sort of physical thing happening, but totally different reaction in the mind. It's like a different reality. Or just one more example to give an idea. There was and I've given this before, a gangster, Mexican gangster, this is a real life story, who was in jail. He belonged to a very violent gang and was in jail for life and in solitary confinement. But due to some nuns, I think monks and nuns anyway, doing prison visits and talking to people and conducting meditation in these prisons in, I think, California or wherever in the States, this man, this Mexican gangster, developed incredible devotion, interest in the Dharma, and began to practice a lot, So then Lama Zopa Rinpoche heard about this, this man and wrote him a letter in jail saying, wow, it's like, for most people it's a jail, but for you, your jail has become like a meditation place, because he's in solitary confinement, right? So he doesn't have to cope with other inmates. He's solitary. He has all this time during the day to do what he wants. In fact, there's nothing much else to do. So he practiced, he studied, he practiced, he did prostrations, he did all sorts of things. He studied the stages of the path, all these things he did in jail. So Rinpoche wrote to him saying, you have made your jail so meaningful. It's become a meditation place for you. And he added that people in outside jail who think they're not in jail, people like you and me, we think we're not in jail, but we're in a very big jail. jail of attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, all of that. We're totally slaves to these emotions. We're the ones in jail. And the gangster has made his, it's inappropriate to call him a gangster anymore. He's actually a meditator. He's a Dharma, he was a Dharma practitioner. He made his so-called jail cell meaningful by practicing. So you could say it's the same cell, the same cement, the same rough bed and iron bars, but for him, it would become something else. And this life you and I are leading, we think, we don't think we're in jail. But if we were to study the Lam Rim properly, the stages of the path teachings, we'd see how we are definitely in a jail. It's just a different kind of jail. Call it jail, call it an lunatic asylum. The way we behave, the way we think, we're lunatics, we are insane. So, I think it does depend. I would argue it does depend on the mind. What do you think? Let's have some debate. Somebody should oppose what I said and say, no, you're wrong. And give reasons, not just to say I'm wrong. If there are no opinions, perceptions, or filters, then what is reality really? No, but there are opinions, perceptions, filters. Oh, you're saying when they go away. If we were to have no perceptions, no filters, well, try it out. Don't ask me. You think things are going to disappear when your prejudices go away? It's not that we stop thinking that a wall is a wall or that a cup of tea is a cup of tea. We still realize we're not divorced from relative truth. But maybe there is some other kind of clarity happening when we get rid of the hopes and fears and expectations, and when we actually pay attention to what's going on right now in front of us. But what is reality really? What a great question. This is what the Buddha says. All of his teachings, he says, are designed to help the disciple answer that very question that you've asked, Vedika. So you better start studying the Buddhist teachings, because everything he is taught is leading us to that. What is reality? What is real? What is unreal? Obviously, what's happening here is kind of real because it's happening. There's a shared experience happening called a Zoom session. And all of you are having to, unless your eyes are closed, having to look at my face or the faces or rectangles on your screen. I think there's a shared reality there, so-called reality. But, think about this morning, think about what happened yesterday. Think about certain experiences you had with people. Think about someone that you cared for very much, or was you thought you were in love with them yesterday. And maybe today you don't feel that way. So, what's going on? What's happening? Or the person you married 20, 30, 40 years ago, they don't seem quite, you're wondering, what's going on. It's kind of, things change, don't they? Things aren't quite as, we thought they would be. So what is reality really? That's the big question. But it seems to be that we are very confused about it. And the Buddha said, if the clearer we get regarding reality, different levels of reality, the deeper we go, the more insight we have, you could say life becomes more manageable until we even can attain nirvana and enlightenment by getting to the deepest level of so-called reality. But, there's a relative truth and there's an ultimate truth. We have to come to terms with the relative truth of, getting up in the morning, brushing our teeth, going to the toilet, all the different states of mind we have, all the things we can see and hear and smell and taste and touch. This is all relative truth. ultimate truth is the fact that nothing has any kind of intrinsic or inherent reality from its own side. There's no inherent nature from the side of the object. It depends on the labels we give. Yeah, so that's what has to be investigated. But that's not what I want to discuss right now necessarily, but that's the great question that has to be investigated more and more and more. But what about what we've looked at so far? We haven't, this question hasn't come up so much. What about the other things Shantideva has been talking about? Anybody? Has anybody been looking at the text? Or want to share something that you find inspiring? It doesn't have to be a question, or what do you find wonderful about this text? Or what do you find difficult so far? What do you find that you don't like? Or maybe it seems a little unreal, this text. It's talking about this extraordinary state of mind, which seems so far away sometimes. Don't make me talk so much. I'm exhausted. Help me. Had a long day. No, nobody? It's all crystal clear? Or you're indifferent to the text? You don't care? Anushri, can we discuss what? Is this to do? No, don't, too much. Yeah, I was with, okay. Can people just read what Anushri has put there and then we'll discuss it? Witness consciousness. I'll give you another half minute, everybody, to read that. And then we can Shibha. Okay, Anushri, since you posted it, you're the first. You discuss it. Is it possible? How is it possible? Hello, Anushri. Show your face and talk, please. As you gone to sleep? No, you can't type. Talk, please. Typing gets, we're here on a screen together. Let's not have to type. Let's talk. This is an amazing faculty we've been given as human beings. No? Your audio's not working. Well, it just takes too long. Otherwise, I'm afraid we don't have that much time. Vedika, do you want to say something about what Anushri posted?
Yeah, so I'm just reading this book right now by Pema Chodron, When
Yeah.
Things Fall Apart.
Wonderful.
So it talks about kind of the mindfulness meditation, basically, where you sit and you don't try to escape from your thoughts. Basically, you just sit and observe them, and you focus on your breathing. But every time you have a thought, you say the word thinking, and then you let go of it. So it's basically like observing your thoughts, observing that you are having these thoughts, but not fixating on them, not stopping there at a single thought, and just saying thinking and moving on.
Yeah.
And I mean, what I've experienced is like when I'm doing this meditation, like I'm saying thinking every few seconds because I'm getting so many thoughts. So, but I mean, it still feels, I mean, at the end of it, it does feel like meditation. But I think the operating theater example that she gives is a little extreme. I can't imagine if somebody can reach that level of.
You can't even imagine it?
Like,
it's quite, yeah, it's quite a high level, isn't it? As like the Bodhisattva who doesn't mind their body being chopped up. It's of no concern to them, so long as it doesn't harm others, of course. The Bodhisattva can allow that to happen, like the one who lay down next to the tigress and actually cut his own throat so the tigress could lick the blood and eat him up and save herself and her cubs. So of course for us that's unimaginable, but it's a question of training. We see people doing all sorts of things with their bodies which we find unimaginable for us. The amount of weights they lift, the speed at which they run, the height they jump, high jump, long jump. People do extraordinary things just with their body. So what to mention the mind training. But yeah, this witness consciousness, it's a question of training. Of course we can do it. It's just we're so caught up right now with our habitual patterns of reacting, and we haven't bothered to reverse it. We haven't bothered to slow down, pay attention, relax. First of all, we don't know how to relax, okay, in that sense. Our mind is always grabbing at things. That's what I mean by not relaxing. Always grabbing at things, fixating, taking things so seriously, meaning taking things to be very solid, taking things to be very real, like an opinion or a thought or something that somebody else says. We take it so seriously, It's like if it's something we don't like, it's like a punch in the face almost. It's like feels so solid. Things feel so solid, right? Because we fixate, because we're not relaxed. Our mind is on edge all the time. Why is it on edge? Because of I, because of me, because of mine. Constant protection, constant paranoid protection. But not only protection, but reaching out and seeing what can I get, what can I magnetize into my sphere of influence to make me more secure, to make me, comfortable, to further my purpose. So that makes us unable to experience this so-called witness consciousness, which is not a term used in Buddhism, but it's kind of that same idea that we can observe without, there is observation, would be a better way of putting it. There is observation happening without the tamasha, without the high, without the grasping. Does that make sense, Vedika? Yeah. My words make sense. Maybe it's, of course, not something that I myself can even practice. My little finger gets cut, then I certainly go into a little bit of a high, and worry for a little while. For a little while, not long. Pradeepji, was that your voice?
Yes, if there is a
if you talk, you have to show the face, please. Unless you're hopelessly drunk or something. You're not drunk today. That's no problem.
Is my face visible?
It certainly is, yes. And your wall. Yeah.
No, if there is a witness consciousness, then doesn't it become a duality, which Buddhism says we are trying to overcome?
Yeah, at the basic level it is. But, if you start training, you can't run the 100 meters immediately in 10 seconds. It takes some training now. Then you get there. So, of course, we can still have a sense of an awareness of an object or something arising, but without our usual reaction. Of course, there's some to go beyond dualism, Pradeepji, that's a very, quite an, let's say, an advanced stage to be able to, be in that kind of level of awareness regularly. If we could do that, we would be very different sort of people already. We'd be very highly advanced already. So we're still in the realm of duality most of the time, although we may have our moments when there's something very beautiful or joyful or moving, and for a split second at least, there is no sense of me. It's just whatever is happening, which is a very relaxing kind of thing, because that burden of the I we let go of, at least briefly. Yeah, we can let go of it briefly.
Maybe I could, I'd like to add something to Anushrie's question,
Sure.
which I experienced during my shamatha practice, which was when I, for me, the tough part was actually not trying to control the breath, the inhale and the exhale. And when I tried to let go of that aspect of forcing my belly to fully expand outwards on the inhale and fully contract inwards, when I let go of that and just observed, what I experienced was a kind of love, like a kind of self-love or a self-appreciation for a mechanism that works on its own with little interference. So I thought that it had a close parallel to this witness consciousness, because when you remove the I and the me from, or the controlling element which comes from there, to something, then you just witness the thing as it is, and you can develop a kind of appreciation for it.
Good. Yeah. Well put. Yeah, I think that's very good. I remember one retreat we were doing where the teacher, where somebody said virtually the same thing you said. The breath was just breathing itself. There was no need for me or I to breathe. The breath is breathing itself. Yeah, breath happens. It doesn't need somebody with a PhD or an MA to be controlling breath, right? It's going to happen. So, or whatever one is, 10th class pass or whatever. We don't need that. It can happen. And he was very appreciative, or said, yeah, that's great, isn't it? Yeah. So that's, I think, some kind of relief, isn't it? And as you said, it leads to a sense of, you could also put it a sense of ease with oneself, a sense of, almost like friendship, appreciation, you said, I think. Yeah, I think.
And the observation of things as they are without the you, without the I, because I'm not playing a part over here in the sense of design. It's just happening on its own, whether I like it or not. So that's also a good practice. I mean, the parallel one can draw is to this witness consciousness, you just witness it during, I mean, this is the practical, this is one way it can be practically experimented with, I think.
And it didn't feel like a threat to the ego or to you, that this was happening without your control. That's a question to you. It didn't feel like a threat?
It didn't. It felt a relief to observe something happening with this effort from to just, take
your
pleasure,
connection is not good, by the way. Turn off your video and then your voice may be clearer, please.
Okay. So I said it felt like a relief actually to observe something. Can you hear me now?
Not so good. Could you? That's better. Yeah. Now talk. See how it is.
Okay. So I said it felt like a relief. Is it okay now?
Better. Yeah.
Okay.
Better. Yeah, it's a relief.
Yeah.
It said that when some people experience emptiness, they have great fear. And when some people, not that you experience emptiness, but when other people experience emptiness, some more fortunate ones maybe, they have great sense of relief, great sense of joy, But for most of us, maybe there'll be some fear initially because we're losing this controller who we think we are all the time. The controller behind the thoughts, behind everything, the me. And to lose the me doesn't feel like it's going to be easy. Okay, we have to have some time for Tara. We have some time. Okay, we can do 7-8 minutes more discussion and then some Tara practice till 8 o'clock. Oh no, it's 7:18. So another 10 minutes of discussion. Yeah, good question, Anushri. That's brought up some good stuff. Let's have some other. I wish people would actually look at the text and bring up something that's in the text.
Kabirji, can you hear me?
Yes, whoever you are.
Yeah,
Ashwin.
Ashwin.
Good, good.
Yeah. So I've had this question for a few days now, thinking about the aspiration of this text to develop such a high level of compassion, and the basic aspiration of the Mahayana path, and how in like daily lived experience, although this aspiration is there, I'm sure for a lot of us, it's so difficult. Like when I try to feel this compassion or open my heart, I feel it closing after a point. I'm unable to give. And I find myself withdrawing or self-grasping. So I don't know if this is a question. It's just something I've seen myself struggling with.
I think we're all struggling with that. If we're honest, most of us at least would be struggling with that. Not struggling with it, but observing it. I don't think we need to struggle with it. That's where we are, you know. We're not yet, we haven't trained our minds to experience unadulterated, continuous sense of openness and compassion. There will be days when we get up out of bed and feel rotten, you know, and we don't want to relate with the world, let alone save the world, you know, as the Bodhisattva is supposed to be thinking all the time, aspiring to that. You know, there are days when we don't want to, you know, draw the curtains, right? Maybe. Certainly days when we don't want to see a whole bunch of certain kind of people, maybe even the people you work with. Some days we don't want to look at them, or even our Dharma friends or practitioners. We get sick and tired of them sometimes and say, I just want to be alone, or this or that, whatever. So don't worry, that's a common experience, you know. So what's the remedy? It's like with anything. It's like saying, oh, it's very difficult for me at the gym. The trainer is making me lift this, that, and the other, and I can't, or it's very difficult. Of course, things are difficult initially. I mean, of course, that's why Shantideva says in one famous verse, you know, there's nothing that doesn't get easier through practice. But how much do we practice? You know, if we ask ourselves honestly, how much am I engaging in the practices that are recommended, you know, for developing compassion, you know, that are given in the stages of the path teachings? How much am I reflecting daily on the kindness of others and on the wish to repay their kindness? And how much am I, you know, meditating on affectionate love and on compassion? How much am I actually, you know, spending time formally, you see, meditating on that? Because it's easy to say, isn't it, that, oh, I'm going to practice in my daily life, but it's not so easy. We have to train. We have to train on the meditation cushion first. Again and again, it is said. That's why they're listening, reflecting, meditating. And as Trungpa says, it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm driving to my girlfriend or boyfriend's house, and while I'm driving there, I'm gonna, you know, meditate on compassion. He says, no, that's not the way. Or while you're driving to the cinema to see a film, oh, I'll meditate while I'm driving to see this film. No, of course you can do mindfulness and stuff. You have to, yeah, otherwise you'll crash. But you know, it's like we should take seriously the advice to reflect and meditate. On the cushion or on the chair. And we're not doing it, right? Because we have such busy lives. So, of course, we're not going to develop what is there in the texts. But if we were to practice, and swimmers and athletes, they practice like anything. And not just for the Olympics, but for other games as well. They practice hours and hours a day if they can, you know. If they have the time and or have a sponsor or something, then they practice hours every day to get to where they, you know. And if we were to consider, you know, developing Bodhichitta as important as gaining an Olympic medal, you know, and some would argue it's far, far more important and beneficial than an Olympic medal, then we should be prepared to put in a few hours a day, right? And take time off even to do retreats and stuff where we spend 8-10 hours a day meditating, reflecting. And if we're not doing it, we can't expect the results. It's like an athlete will be told by their trainer that if you don't train the way I'm telling you, then don't expect any, result, any good result. You'll just be a, lukewarm, very mediocre athlete if you don't train the way I'm telling you. So I think it's a bit like that, really. Of course, things are hard. Many things are hard. What isn't that hard?
Kabirji, there was this talk by Prema Chaudharan which he gave to Tushita in last 2 Fridays.
Tuptan children, yeah.
Tushita Chaudharan, in which there was this question about compassion, compassion for others. It's how difficult.
Okay.
And the question I think was whether self-compassion is more important than compassion for others. She said that it reaches a stage where self-compassion becomes as important as compassion for others. If you start with compassion for your own self, with a wider awareness of that you're who you are and you are just like others, it gets extended to others. That's what I understood by it, but I'm not sure.
Makes sense to me.
You start with your own self and also realize that others are also like you, and it automatically transforms to others.
Yeah, that seems logical, doesn't it? We don't feel it for ourselves. How can we feel it for others? If we don't know what a headache feels like, how can we feel anything for somebody who says they have a headache? So if we're aware of the terrifying nature of samsaric suffering and how we are also prone to it, then we can't feel it for others. But if we have an idea of what we've been through in our previous lives, in this life, what is in store for us, the way we're behaving, and the fact that we may go through sickness, old age, definitely death, then I think it's possible to extend it towards others. But if we're kind of careless and lazy about even thinking about these things, then we won't think about them on behalf of others. It's quite simple, really. Seems a good point. It seems very logical. So renunciation mind is like based on, you see how if you don't develop that mind, you're going to suffer again and again and again and again. So renunciation is a kind of compassion towards oneself, because you see clearly, one sees clearly the causes of suffering and suffering nature of samsara and feels disgust towards it, aversion. And then you feel that way for others too, because they're also going through that. They're also going through this terrifying samsara.
Kabirji, Apurva has a question here.
Yeah, your voice is very faint.
Is it better now?
Bit better, yeah.
Okay, I actually had a question regarding a part of the text, Shantideva's text.
Good.
So it's verse 19. I'll just read out the verse so we have some context. It says, just as I would be attentive and careful of a wound when amidst a bustling, uncontrolled crowd, so should I always guard the wound of my mind when dwelling amongst harmful people.
Yes.
So, I was just sitting with this portion of the text, and on a tough day, it actually really helped me. And I felt, that I was able to at least inculcate better self-compassion because of guarding the wound of my mind.
Yeah.
But on another day, I felt that considering our own mind as a wound could also induce a certain kind of attachment to the mind and a level of protection.
Maybe
maybe that would make us take it a little too seriously, if you know what I mean.
Well, if you have a wound, then you have to take it seriously. You have to take care of yourself first before you can go around helping other people, because you might even infect other people with your wound, you know. So it's good to take care of one's wound. Are you moving things around? There's a lot of background noise. So yeah, we have to take care of, have to take care of ourselves. If we get COVID, we have to take care of ourselves and isolate. Otherwise, we will, harm others. So we have to guard the wound of our mind, which means here, of course, the wound inflicted by the afflictive emotions, our anger and all the rest of it. So not only that the wound hurts us, it can hurt others too. Yeah, as he says in the next verse. We can get hurt, and then we hurt others, and we can also go to hell through the wound of anger, for example, and send us to hell. So yeah, that's a very good verse. Very good verse.
Also, I was just wondering how do we define harmful people in the verse?
You tell me.
I guess that's where I got stuck, and that's when I started thinking about, is it increasing my attachment to my own state of mind by thinking that people may be harmful even when they're not? But
depends on our level, doesn't it? If we are a low level of beginner, then just being among people who talk too much will be harmful for us. So they are harmful people. And people who are asking you to, do things you don't want to do, which you feel are wasting your time or against the dharma, or just, leading to too many, just too much idle gossip, and just leading to mindless kind of criticizing of others and discussing scandals and, all of that stuff. That would also be construed as harmful people from that point of view. Of course, from the Bodhisattva point of view, also another level is that you see all those people as suffering people, people who are sick, so you feel compassion for them. But at the beginner's level, we have to avoid such people if we have, a baby mind, which is easily wounded by distractions. So then we have to stay away from distracting people. We even have to stay away from movies and Netflix and these things, although they're not inherently bad. They can also be viewed, with compassion and understanding of things. But you see what I mean? It depends where we are in our practice. But harmful here means that it's harming your mind and preventing you from from developing a stable, calm, clear, insightful, and balanced mind. If going out a lot disturbs your mind because of having to interact with a lot of people, then don't do it until the mind becomes stronger. But harmful people can also mean people who are using bad language, inciting you to spend time with them doing things that you feel is not appropriate for you, or against the principles of dharma, that go against right action, rights, proper speech, proper conduct, proper livelihood. Harmful person would be someone, come and invest in this particular company, and then you find out that company engages in unethical action, or it's manufacturing harmful armaments or chemicals, then that's a harmful person. Or you find it very beneficial to not eat in the evening, or to eat very little, that someone, your friend or family, keeps on encouraging you, no, you must eat, you must eat a good hearty evening meal, when it's not suiting you. You want to go to bed earlier with a light stomach, get up early in the morning, whatever it is. So that for you at that point is a harmful person, although they're also a person worthy of your love and compassion, you see. But of course, the main thing is the wound of our mind. That's what don't forget that. Earlier in the chapter, Shantideva was saying the main problem is our mind. It's not harmful people. They're only harmful because our own mind is a wound, right? if we're a bodhisattva, in one sense, then there's no such thing as a harmful person. Every person is helping us develop more and more compassion. The more harmful they are to ordinary people, the more the bodhisattva will develop compassion for that person. So for the bodhisattva, everyone is like, fuel for their practice. But for us, there are many harmful people, if you get the meaning. Everyone's harmful. For me, everyone's harmful. I get annoyed very quickly with people. It's a very bad habit. Some people here know how easily I get annoyed. So for me, people are harmful, but it's nothing but a reflection of my own mind.
Yes,
okay, let's do some Tara practice. Thank you. Good question. Good point. Thank you. I'm glad you're inspired by that verse to think more about things. It's wonderful. Shantideva would be very happy. Okay, we'll do some Tara. So Tara is the embodiment of our quick, enlightened compassion and wisdom. She is not somebody out there, essentially, although she is also out there in space. There are millions, billions of Taras, but she's also a reflection of our own wisdom, your and my wisdom and compassion. Very quick compassion, very quick compassion. Born from the tears of Avalokiteshvara. So upset that he couldn't help others more, and then Tara was born from his tears. Suggesting, this is a myth, it's suggesting her very powerful, effective, and quick compassion, which is very active. So we'll just go through the praises 3 times. You can read it in English, you can meditate, you can imagine light coming from the Taras, going to people you are praying for, who are sick or ill, who are unhappy, who have just died, etc., etc. To yourself, if yourself needs healing and encouraging, then that light is coming to you. There are different kinds of Taras: peaceful, semi-wrathful, and wrathful. The wrathful ones you can tell from the translation. The translation tells you how wrathful they are. So you feel if you have problems with delusions, then the wrathful Tara is wrathfully, of course, compassionately, but wrathfully also eliminating that poison from your mind or from the minds of people like that. Like that. Okay. So we'll do that, and then what I sent you on the posting has some very nice prayers at the end of the praises. It starts, as does the text we sent you before, but anyway, we'll do it from what we sent you today. Starts with the invocation and the prostration and praise. Here, those verses are just the first 2 verses after the picture of Tara. We have, we'll recite those verses in English. Then I'll recite the praises in Tibetan, and you can join in, but it's probably difficult for you to recite the Tibetan. So you can read the English, recite the English, like that. I'll mute you all because we're probably haven't practiced this together, so it'll be rather a strange sound, possibly. Muting you all, but please recite as loud as you want where you are, and feel Tara's energy is blessing us and helping us to do what we need to do for ourselves and others. In the supreme abode, that is the Potala, is she born from the green syllable Tam, the light from the syllable Tam, rescuing wandering beings. Tara, along with your retinue, please come here. The gods and demigods bow their crowns to your lotus feet. She who frees from all deprivation, to Mother Tara, I offer homage. And I'll recite that second verse again in Tibetan a few times and then do the praises. And you join in as you wish, or just meditate. visualize whatever is good for you to do, and remembering the people you wish to pray for, and for the world. The world needs all our prayers. So visualize Tara is in that rather nice painting image there. The right foot extended, ready to leap into action, compassionate action. Lodana minje bengi jagi pemola tune pompa con le dozema domayum la jazel. Lodana minje bengi jagi pemola tune pompa con le dozema domayum la jazel. Lodana minje bengi jagi pemola tune pompa con le dozema domayum la jazel. Om Jetsu Ma Pomodomo Jazel. Om Hamesh Venerable Tara. Jose Domani Mapa, my Jenny Kejiladanda, my Jitin Jiki Shaki, Kesaja Walenijama, Jose Devida Kinte, Kawagiani Sepeshal, Kamado Bazo Panam Ki, Rapi Jevi Arabarama, Jose Jenny Jenny Ki, Peme Jenny Nombrakiema, Jimbazo to Gaduji was a something to Yonima, Jose Tashin Jebezo, Toataye Nombrakiewachama. Malo paro ji pato pe gyawa de ki chentu tema chode tore dere chode tu tara hungi ge dodan jodan nam kakam chitendo gujagi nente lupa me pagi panyima chode gya chemela sampa lolo loso wanji chema chumoro la dizanam da nejin jagi dene tema chode chade tadam peki paro tu korab du joma Yekin jaginente me patu prajentu parama chaze tureji pachiempo tuki paun brajoma chigi dene denze daotam chomalisema chaze kuchazazan jagye zomoto kranam pagyama malu choki korlogiembe rangi yoki sanande ma chaze rati gawajiape Ogena kite wapen, jevena chitu tarai, toda jite wanda tema, chale zaji ke wezonam, tamte gubani manima, tonye yo ige wangi, pompa tamche pratoma, chale dawe dimbi ugen, gempa tamche chintu baram, repetona pamele, Kaprajindo Rabzama, Jade Kameta Memeta, Maveding Meonane Amma, Yekin Kinikogi, Jai Poni Nambrajama, Jade Dajina Lajagi, Tegi Jagi Duma, Sode Jende Yige Huangi, Privado Bonanige Ma, Jade Demage Majima, Nyanin Deshichu Yunima, Soho Yododo Dembe, De Bajem Bajem Banima, Jose Kune Karega, we Dailuni Nambragama, Ige Japena Niki, Peri Pahole de Manima, Jose Tureza Nidape, Hongi Nabe Sobanima, Rida Mandara Dambije, Jitendo Yanima, Jose Loizo Inombe, Riata Chechananama, Tara Nijo Peki, Dene Bali Pani Selma, Jose Loizo no Pola da Miachi Etema, Kunega Jagawajiki, Sura Milanium Bazelma, Jose Nima Dawagia, Jenny Perla Rapselma, Hara Nijo Tutarai, Shendo da Borim Nezelma, Jose Denis Denem Kipe, Give to the Yandandema, Dolarola Dojinzona, Jompaturi Rabjonima, Sawe Nakita Patina, Chase Wanini Susaji, Onje Soma, Mama Jose Lo, Jose Domanima Papa, Jenny Kejila Dandama, Jiden Zuki Jagi Jagi, Keza Jewaleni Jama, Jose the Kinti, Gawagani Sepejama, another Boston. Jose Jini Peme Jenny Brakem, Chimazologa was a bottom de joyoni ma jade de jinjebezo to taye nambra kewa che ma malu paro che pato kewa tsiki shinto ten ma jade to tara hongi ge do da jodan kagda de lu pa me pa ki panye ma jade gade mela da pa lo na na su wanje che ma Yomboro la dizanam da nojin jegi te ma jade jade tadam peki Karo tokora tujo ma yeken yunken jaki nente me bato brajentu barama Chate tu regi pacempo duki pao nam brajoma Chuki jone jone denze dao tamcho malusema Chate ko jojo don jogi domo tokra nam pakiema Malu choki korlo giempe rangi yoki sunam tema Chate rabdu gawaji pe yogi nagi tenwa pelma Shepe rapshe tutarrayi, dudanje ten wan tu tsema, chade zajin kyo we zonam, damje gyuban nyumanyima, tonye yu ige oinki, pompa damje nambradoma, chade dawe dembe ege, kemba damje jentu barama, gepetana apamele, tabra chintu warabze ama, chade kameta memeta, bawe tengwe yunane ama, nyeke nyeke kene koge, dayi puni nambrajoma, Jose Jaji no la jagi, tegi no jinjagi toma, tone janze ige oangi, repato bonani gema, Jose de mage maji ma, nyanin de shi joyonima, soho ya dandan dembe, de pa chempo jombanima, Jose gane gane gane, dailo ni nombrege ma, yige jope nani kepe, de pa hole domani ama, jade tore zamidape, Hongi nabe sobani ma rira mandara dande jide jo yo nya ma jade lai so inambe ria tache chana nama tara nijo peki ge dena malupani selma jade lai sunum gelpo lada mi achi etem kuni gaje gawaji ki soda milanyam bazal jade ni madawa giape keni pola rapselma Hara nijo tutarrayi, jindu da puri nezo, chode deni jinim ki pe, jive do da yandam dem, do da rola do rezo da, jomba tore rab joni, sawe naki tapadina, chase wani nisu saji, om jetsu ma pa ma do ma la cha zello, chase do ma nyu ma pa mo, cheni keji lo danda ma, jiten ju kunji kishel, Kedo je wali ni je ma, jose da da kuntu, kawa gani te paisama, kama tomba zomba namki, rob tu chewe ora barama, jose jini jini ki, peme cheni nambrage ma, jimba tu tu kato jiwa, soba zam tenjo yuni ma, jade de jinje bedato, taye nambrage wachi ma, malu paro chipatope, Kewa teki jindo tema, chate tutara hungi, Dodo dodo kakama, jitendu kujaginente, luba me bagi pani ma, chate kya chemela zam, la la zavanjite ma, jumburu la dizanam, do, nujindu kideneta, chate dade dadam meki, paru tukaram duja ma, yekin yunkin chaginente, me patu brachentu barama, chate tureji pachiempo, duki paun brajama, chuki dene dene denze, Dao tamchu malusema, Chade kanya jogi, somo tokra nampakiam, malu choki korlo kiempe, rangi yoki sonam tema, chade rabdu gawaji pe, yoki nekin tewa pelma, shepe rabshe tutarrayi, doda de dewan totsema, chase chajin kyo esona, tonje ki banyu manima, tonye yoe ige oinki, pompa tamche nambradoma, chade dave dimbi ugen, kempa tamche chintu barama, Repetano apamele, tobra chindu arabze ama. Chode game dome mena, mere na neama. Yekin kune koge, dayi ponina brajoma, chase chajina la chagi, chiri doma. Tone jende yige oanki, ripado bona nigema, chode dema gema jima, nyonin de jijoyoni. Soho yondo dempe, riba jembo jombanima, chode kune karagawe, dayi lonina bragema. Ige chapena nike peri pahole domanima chade kametam chade tureza nidabe hungina bezobanima Rira mandara dambi je jitenjo yo anima chazelai soi nam pe rira tache chanam nama tara nijo peki ke donama lupani salma chazelai sonam gel po ladami ochitem kone gocha gawaji ki sonami lonyam basal chadeni madavagia pa cheni polar salma hara nijo totarayi dindu raptorem salma Chaze deni zenim gibi divido da yandam dem doda rolo no jezona jamba tore jabjonima sawe nakita badida chaze wani nesu salshi. Then there is the prayers on page 7 of what we have sent you today, the posting. Page 7. Those with perfect devotion to the goddess, the intelligent who recite this with the utmost conviction, both in the evening and upon rising at dawn, will all be bestowed with fearlessness by this recollection. Every degrading misdeed will be completely subdued and all bad rebirths overcome. The 70 million victorious ones will swiftly empower with their consecration. By the attainment of this very greatness, they will ultimately transfer to the stage of a Buddha. For them, even toxins that are very strong, lodged firmly or stirring, whether eaten or drunk by them, will be completely remedied by this very recollection. Affliction by malevolent forces, contagions and toxins, the mass of sufferings will be totally discarded. If, moreover, for other sentient beings, one fully expresses this 2, 3, or 7 times, those wanting a child will gain a child. Those wanting wealth will gain that very wealth. Every wish will be fulfilled without obstruction. Each and every hindrance shall be overcome. Most Venerable Compassionate Bhagavati, purifying the 2 obscurations and quickly completing the 2 accumulations, that is, of merit and wisdom, for me and the infinitude of all sentient beings, please bring us the complete Buddha's attainment. While that is not obtained, matlab jab tak wo nahi ho jayega, in every lifetime, bring us the attainment of the supreme bliss of the divine and human. Then the accomplishment of omniscience, for which obstacles, malevolent and obstructing forces, infectious and other illnesses, the various causes of untimely death, nightmares, bad omens, 8 fears, and anything else that severely harms, please swiftly pacify so that they are no more. Enriching the worldly and transworldly aspects of auspiciousness, bliss, goodness, and abundance, please develop our goals without exception, bringing us effortless, spontaneous accomplishment. Vigorous in practice, spreading the holy dharma, constantly practicing you, may your supreme face be beheld. Make the understanding of emptiness and the precious jewel of Bodhichitta increase like the new moon waxing full. The excellent mandala of the victorious ones, in that joy may I be born from an extremely beautiful sacred lotus, the victorious Amitabh manifesting. May I obtain prophecy from him there too. The deity achieved from my previous lives, goddess of the transcendental activity of all the Buddhas of the 3 times, bluish green, 1 face, 2 hands, swift pacifier. May there be the auspiciousness of the mother holding an Utpala flower. Aryatara, with a body that is like yours, a retinue, lifespan, and pure land, and a supreme name of excellence that is just like yours. May I and everyone else become just like you. By the power of praising and offering prayers to you, for myself and everyone else, in whatever path of earth we may abide in, please subdue sickness, malevolent forces, deprivation, and fighting, and proliferate the dharma and auspiciousness. So in short, may all our Guru's wishes be totally fulfilled. May all our teachers have long and healthy lives. May we never be separated from the holy dharma. Those of us who do not have teachers or gurus, no problem. May we always be nourished by authentic literature and our own wisdom. And then when the karmic time comes, may we find a teacher who can help us, authentic teacher in this and in future lives. May all those whom we are praying for be benefited by these prayers that we've made with a good aspiration, a good heart, and with some good positive energy, enthusiasm. May our discussion of Shantideva bear fruit, so that we may understand his and practice his wonderful holy text for the benefit of all beings. May we never be discouraged. May we never give up. May we develop more and more courage as times become more and more challenging in this world. And may we act as a refuge and protector for others who are suffering, who are without a guide, who are bereft, who are feeling hopeless and sad. May we be like a refuge for them. May we, with great kindness and gentleness, lead them to happiness. May His Holiness Dalai Lama, Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Dzongsa Rinpoche, Mingyur Rinpoche, Taisita Rinpoche, Karmapa, all the great lamas have long and healthy lives, and may all their holy wishes be fulfilled. May the sublime mind of Bodhichitta be quickly aroused in us, and where it's already arisen, may it grow even more. So thank you all very, very much for your patience, and I hope this session was beneficial for us. Hopefully we'll also meet tomorrow Tuesday, same time. Should be fine, and we'll put out a notice in the morning. We'll probably continue with the Shantideva and have some discussion like that. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Good night. Have a restful, pleasant evening with good friends. Oscar Wilde is telling us, true and best friends are your teacher and Sangha members. Let us always remember this. Jagmohanji ko pranam. Lovely to see you, sir. Take care. Take care. All of you take care. Yeah, thank you so much. Good night. Good night. Thank you, Namita. Thank you, our other friend at Tushita. Yeah, I'm dreadful at names. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Bye. No more entertainment tonight. Yeah, it's over. It's over. Yeah. Send your checks and dollars to Tushita.